Thank you very much for having me here, and I'd like to congratulate ETHMilan on a wonderful second edition. Last year, I was lucky enough to speak on my first panel, and did so well they brought me back for a keynote, so that's great. Today we're going to be talking about building in Berachain's ecosystem, and I'm going to give you the basic BD Bera perspective. I'm MVP, and I've been working at Berachain for a little over a year now, doing top-of-funnel BD. So the journey to get to keynote speaker was a long one for me. I went to school, and actually for crypto. So for 4 years, I was lucky enough to have the only PhD in finance, studying and investing in crypto, teaching me how to value these networks and these tokens and what value accrual means to magic internet money. I continued my education, and specifically for crypto, going to Hong Kong's first digital asset master's program. And there I learned nothing, but it did invite me to start building, and so that's what I did. I did a public goods protocol for an ecosystem, and on onboarding hundreds of protocols to a new ecosystem so that they could donate 1% of their revenue to my protocol, I learned a lot about how to bring protocols from 0 to 1. A lot of that is velocity for founders, whether it's collaborations with key stakeholders, partners, figuring out how to position that product correctly for distribution, and then of course messaging on the key differentiators of why that protocol matters. But really all I did was create Telegram groups and send a Calendly. So, why am I actually here? Smokey could not make it. And what was the ecosystem I was building for? It was Terra. So while I learned a lot about bringing projects from 0 to 1, I learned also a lot from Doe about going back to 0. And in those moments, the traumatic experience of the Terra DPEG, I knew what I had to do, and that was help the founders that I brought into the ecosystem pivot to find new footing in other ecosystems upcoming. We've had great successes from the Terra ecosystem going to others. One I'd like to highlight was Vertex, which has done over 125 billion in volume on Arbitrum. So 6 months helping people leave a dead ecosystem, realizing that it makes no sense for me to stay here. What did I do? Well, anyone with a mind would say a non-technical BD guy should definitely start selling audits to his friends at the bottom of a bear market. And that's what I did. So in that audit process of my BD, I talked to as many founders as possible, and I found this really interesting NFT project called Bong Bears. I had no idea what they did. I heard some rumors of a potential chain, so I reached out to Smokey, and for 6 months we had been chatting about what it takes to build an early ecosystem, what went well and what didn't with Terra, and eventually Smokey hired me. Pretty much saved me. So what did go wrong with Terra? They had a stablecoin that was backed by a volatile asset. The liquidity for that volatile asset was not existent in the outstanding supply of the stablecoin, and it went to 0. And that's why I loved joining Berachain, because Berachain has 3 tokens. One is Bera, the gas token, and it's actually used to bootstrap your validator to join and validate the transactions of the network. The other, and the most important, is BGT, which is governance, controlling the validator's distribution weights. This is where you bring your productive capital, your liquidity. You get rewarded for it in BGT, and you get to make the choice. Do I want to govern this system and figure out where future rewards should go? Or do I want to convert and burn my BGT, give away my governance, and use the chain, and go back and convert to Bera? Outside of that 2-token system is the native stablecoin, and Honey is backed 1-to-1 with USDC and other dollar-backed stablecoins. So while Honey is backed, it is also very sticky, and I think has a wonderful chance of being DeFi's favorite stablecoin. Now let's go back to where it all started, the Bong Bear NFTs, and joining an NFT project of bears with bongs is very funny, but is also very serious. While it was a fun social project, it kind of turned into something a lot more. And the Bong Bears are very special because of the one property of being the first rebasing NFT. So the origin collections, if you had an OG, you got a bond. If you have an OG and a bond, you can get 2 boos. If you have 2 boos, a bond, and an OG, you go ahead and get 4 babies, so on and so forth. These rebases actually allowed for bought-in participants to continue to be long-term incentivized holders. And it also snowballed the distribution of, hey, what's a bond? What's a boo? What's a baby? Oh my gosh, there's so many bits now. I must have one, right? And it kind of snowballed into one of the largest global, highly qualified user bases for projects to be able to launch with. And these network effects continue to grow because nothing quite draws a crowd like a crowd. The Bear cult following has been very obvious from the start, whether it's native brands popping up within Berachain's community, the merch that they bring to showcase kind of why they're different within the Berachain ecosystem, the community itself generating media views of tens of millions of impressions. We have a rap video from an artist. We have a wrapped BMW in Ukraine. And we have way too many yeet tattoos on those community members. But the community is very, very organic. It's energized, and it's ready for Berachain. And this is done with all zero paid media and not really a marketing budget at all. As you can see, we had thousands lined up for the biggest event at ETH Denver. Oh, and also thousands lined up for the biggest event last week at Token 2049. This is what Berachain is. It is a community that is interested in a new blockchain. And we're not just a community of builders. We have builders building communities within Berachain, like the Honey Jar, which is one of the best gateways from the start, coming up with new public goods for the ecosystem like rating systems, Cub Quests, the Honeycast, and of course Berachain Baddies, the best place for women to get into crypto, be educated, have a support system for founding projects, and a group that they can really trust and learn and grow with. That is, I think, very important. We also have the Bearland community, where actually gets a validator and gets to partner on-chain with the projects that they work with and have helped moderate a lot of the communities of Berachain. And then we've seen new communities start popping up, like The Cave, with thousands of people in their Telegram, having started just about 2 months ago. So the builders of community really help out the community of builders, and that's what brought us to the most active and fastest growing testnet. We have over 330 plus teams building on Berachain. Of those teams, 120 are native to Berachain with branding and building really closely with proof of liquidity. And then over the course of our 2 testnets, we've on both had over 8 million active users, which is very impressive. Thanks to those 330 plus teams, obviously. Why are they building on Berachain? It is because they can build around rewards. In a traditional system, users use apps, those apps pay fees, those validators keep it. And the value capture of a blockchain ends up in the hands of people running the machines. For us, Berachain rewards users from the bottom up, meaning users use dApps, dApps pay fees to validators, and the block rewards that those validators generate go back to the dApps and the users that have used it. So productive capital, productive and positive user behavior within applications is what builders can build around, knowing that those users are being rewarded by the blockchain that they're building on, not by the protocol themselves. So emissions from Berachain come in the form of BGT, meaning if you're providing productive capital to the system, you have now governance and say of that system. And this is for the whitelisted gauges. So there is going to be a bar that these teams need to meet in terms of the community feeling like there is positive economics of rewarding those positive actions. So our native ecosystem is right here. It's Bend, which is a native stable coin borrow lending platform where What is being rewarded with BGT is the asset utilization of the collateral on Bend, meaning the more honey that you borrow, the more you utilize the liquidity that you give to the Bend, the more BGT you might earn. With BEX, it would be provision of liquidity in the native DEX that is earning BGT. And BERPS, it would be backstopping the exchange with honey and being rewarded in governance for doing that. As you can see, it's positive user behaviors that incentivize liquidity and productive use of your assets on Berachain that earns Berachain. And of course, it's not just these native applications that will win. This could be anybody. And through governance can whitelist your smart contract address to ensure the correct calls, the correct user behaviors are being incentivized by your chain. I'd like to talk a little bit about the examples of this. And of course, we have to start with Puffpaw, Quit Vaping to Earn idea. I met him at SBC last year. I was vaping outside of the conference. He walks up to me and says, "Would you like to quit?" I said, "No, but I'm interested in what you're building." And what he's building is smart vape device that puts every puff on chain. That was it. I knew that we were going to be working together when he said, "It's called Puffpaw." These smart vape devices actually incentivize lower nicotine intake through a 5%, 3%, and 0% pod. Your rewards smoking a 0% pod are higher than rewards smoking a 3%, and then of course, the more you smoke on a 5%, the less puff you're going to get. Now, there's 1.3 billion smokers in the world, and this is why I love building the Berachain ecosystem, because actual impact in the real world is what matters for our builders, and they use the crypto tools in front of them, such as the incentivization layer of Berachain, to bootstrap a sustainable way to compete in that marketplace. And obviously, we like backing great teams. Puffpaw has a team with experience in this industry, selling over 75 million vapes last year. So this is one example and more of a consumer, funky, unique idea, which we love at Berachain. And Exponents, I think, would be a great DeFi example, where they have brought to the table incentivization of speculation. It's an inverse bonding curve protocol that allows leverage trading of any asset. I feel like this might be a Uniswap moment for derivatives, where liquidity isn't as much needed for the speculation on any asset. So 3 things that can happen here with Exponents. We have protocols that are able to incentivize longs on their native protocol token. Communities can now bet bigger immediately and have real influence on the marketplace of the token that they're excited about. And Exponents really is here to turn kind of crypto tribalism into a capital gain. So Bowden holders could potentially, put incentives to short a Trump's coin or vice versa. And this is only possible on Berachain, since we are the ones incentivizing liquidity and positive interactions. Exponents can now be the ones to incentivize speculation of that market. Bear names. I'd have to say this is one of my favorite community projects, because 2 weeks after we launched the Introducing Berachain blog post, they started building. They knew that there would be a need for a native name service, and they wanted to fill that need. And so 2 years later, they've now finally been able to launch their product on Bartio, where there's been over 100,000 names minted on testnet. And I love these 2 co-founders. They're here in the room. One of them is an organizer of ETHMilan. So Gio, thank you very much for building in Berachain and building moments like these. These guys are both utilizing the public good of a name service to fund public goods with POL. So 75% of their revenue will be going to proof of liquidity to interact with the Berachain ecosystem. And you don't see that in any other ecosystem. Obviously, for 2 years, they weren't just waiting around to build a name service. They've been quietly building in stealth for something else that we're all very excited about. And that would be Berachain, the native wallet. And it will be the UI UX gateway to Bera, and it is something that I can't wait to have, my own personal Berachain. So here's just a few of the benefits that we touched on. One, we were going to have lots of liquidity with our user-first economic model of this blockchain. Berachain is the only blockchain, when launched, that in addition to security, can offer your protocol something else. We also have a large, global, highly qualified user base. On-chain, we have not just the origin collections of thousands of users that have those official beras, but over the ecosystem, we have tens of thousands of NFT holders that are unique and in our Berachain ecosystem. We also are leveraging existing EVM developer tooling and infrastructure. We have choices for oracles, choices for RPCs. Anything that you need to build is here on Berachain, so there should be no issue giving it a try. And we also love Italy. So I just wanted to shout out to the 15+ teams that came across the globe, some here local, like Berachain, Smiley, Brahma, iPor, and then some like Junkie Ursa's, Kingdomly, Vase, Roots as well, and Bear Market, right? Coming from around the world to be here at ETHMilan. So if you guys do meet them today and tomorrow, please make sure you ask them exactly why building on Berachain is so fun. We also love supporting our Italian ecosystem. We're very, very pleased to be here. After this conversation, we get an aperitivo, where we could have free drinks and a fun time. Tomorrow, we're actually going to be putting a POL workshop. So if you'd like to dig deeper into the inner workings of POL, I suggest you listen to Berachain and Bera. And then, of course, after this event is done, we're not leaving. We have just opened up our first office in Milan. So if you would like to come and work with the Berachain team, please join us near the Duomo, and let's start building on proof of liquidity. So from here until next ETHMilan, you could have a place and a home in Milan with Berachain. And that's I think that was a mistake. Did I say ETHMilan? Next year, I'm very, very, very proud to announce that this exact same conference with the same exact team, the amazing organizers, will be Berachain. So next year, please come over to Berachain, continue to build in the Berachain ecosystem, and come chat with me after if you're interested in learning a little bit more about proof of liquidity, Berachain, or what Ooga Booga means. Thank you very much.